Hi, guys. This is so exciting that we're all here in New York. I've interviewed you, Mary, over Zoom, so this is fun. But yeah, let's all go around and do some intros and let's begin.
It's so fun to be here in New York. I actually just moved from Chicago 5 days ago, so really excited to be back in the city. But yeah, I'm Kate Sanner, CEO and co-founder of Beni, and we are here to make it really easy for you to shop secondhand, to find those hidden gems and bring more people into the world of resale. And I'm so excited for this conversation because I've been following both of you guys. You guys have built such awesome communities in the fashion tech space, and I feel like have been such supporters of Beni, which is always appreciated. But also, we've been able to bring you on as a creator, which has been so fun to have kind of your creative mind involved. And we have some really fun news that we'll share shortly. But I stalked Mary and was like, "You have to join the team." And so we just hired Mary as our product designer, creative director, and we're launching a bunch of new stuff she has her fingerprints all over. So yeah, Mary, you can introduce yourself, but we're so excited to have you on the Beni team.
I am so excited to be a part of the Beni team. I've been a Beni user since like the very start, so this feels like a very full circle moment. But a quick intro on me. I'm Mary. I run all things fashion tech and turned that into an online publication and soon to be a physical magazine, hopefully this year. But started, an all things fashion tech community, just really focusing on the fashion tech industry, getting people involved, getting people aware of what's going on. And it's been really exciting because simultaneously I joined Beni and I've been working on really amazing products and really new features, and I think we're ready to launch. We're so excited to share it with the world.
I also feel like it was kind of like a secret that Benny's relaunching too. So I'm excited to talk about that. And I'm also realizing now that in each of your episodes we did, you both talked about each other.
I was courting Mary. She didn't know it, but I was like, okay, I'm watching her. She's got the hustle. She's got the vibe. I just think for both of you, it's really impressive to just be like, I'm interested in this space and I'm just going to build community. And I don't know where it's going to lead or what is going to come of it. But I think there's so much awesome stuff happening. And both of you guys have just tapped into that. Like there are so many people that are interested, that are watching, that want to get involved, but don't necessarily know how. And I think, yeah, it's very cool. And so as someone in the space, I love that you guys are sharing those stories and one, appreciate that you've used your platform to share what we're doing, but also you kind of are my source to like make sure I understand what everything, what else is happening in the industry. And so, yeah, it's just really fun to have this kind of come full circle.
Yeah. No, I remember, I think I posted something on LinkedIn and it was like you guys each just like hyping each other up.
I remember that.
Yeah. So I think it might be a good place to start on how each of you kind of found yourself in this industry. Maybe you weren't sure it was fashion tech at that moment, but how you started just like networking, discovering. Someone recently said to me, if you're interested in a space and you don't know how to start, just begin to like wander and like read things, follow people, like be really curious and ask questions. You don't need to know exactly what your role is going to be yet. So how did you guys begin?
I think the wonder aspect is so spot on because I went to school for product design and I was an athlete my entire life, and I was never the type of person that was like super into fashion from the get-go. But post-grad, my passions kind of went from sports straight to fashion, and I realized how bad the traditional fashion industry was, but I also had this deep passion for fashion now. And I was like, I had 5 years of school, then a master's, and none of this pertains to the fashion industry, so how am I going to apply it? And it was kind of interesting that I started growing this community on TikTok, but prior to that, I kind of entered into the fashion tech world because of TikTok. I've always been a huge fan of like renting and sharing clothes. I never had sisters growing up, so like hand-me-downs or just like sharing a closet was something I really wanted. I know a lot of people that have sisters probably hated the fact that they were sharing closets with their sisters, but
Pros and cons. Pros and cons.
but I envied that. I wanted it so bad. And so the thought of like rental really intrigued me. And so I came across a peer-to-peer fashion rental early stage startup on TikTok back in the day, way back in the day, like 2020. And I was like, I'm just going to shoot my shot. Like, I already have a full-time job working in med device, but I don't want to be in this industry. Let me just I've always been the type of person that puts 1,000 things on my plate. So I'm like, I can do a part-time job. Let me just put my name out there. And so I reached out, and it worked out perfectly. I was working nights, and because I was working in the med device industry, it's a really slow-moving industry. And so I had like extra time on my hands during the workday, but then also like after my 9 to 5, my 5 to 9 was working on this platform called BIPD, and it never felt like work. It never felt like a chore, and I loved what I was doing, and that was kind of like my entry point. I didn't know the term fashion tech then, but obviously I was building tech and designing tech for this fashion platform. And then it wasn't until I was like, okay, I'm really interested in this space, whatever this space is, and I went to go to apply for a larger scale role, like a full-time role, and on WellFound, which is like the LinkedIn, but for startups, there was a term fashion tech, and you can sort by fashion tech. And I clicked on it, and I found all these companies that I had no idea who they were, what they were doing. And I kind of like learned of the space then, and I've just been like so encapsulated and just like ingrained in the space. Like I'm obsessed with it, because I truly think that like the future of fashion is fashion tech. Like the traditional fashion industry cannot continue moving at the pace that it's moving without tech enabling it to more sustainable, smart practices. But yeah, that was a really long-winded way of like how I got into fashion tech and how I've learned of this space. But essentially, like I really loved the fashion industry, but my skill set was so not suited for PR, marketing, apparel design. And so I was able to find a place in fashion tech that I could apply my skill set and also be so ingrained in the industry.
Also, I love that if you look up on TikTok fashion tech, it's just like Mary's face. When did you start writing about all things fashion tech, like Substack and TikTok? Because I think that's how a lot of people, their entryway into the industry is.
So I got into the industry in like 2020, and I started posting about how like I was sad that I wasn't working in fashion, but I'm working in fashion tech, so that's cool. And then people on TikTok are like, what the heck is fashion tech? And that was probably around like 2022. And then I just saw that there was so much like eagerness and excitement and curiosity around the term fashion tech that I'm like, wait, maybe this is like really untapped territory that I can help educate the general public on, because I was working in the industry and I absolutely loved it. So I started really talking about fashion tech in 2022, and it wasn't until 2024, like literally last summer, that I was like, I have my personal TikTok and I'm talking about like my world and my life, but I'm also talking about fashion tech. I want an area where I can solely talk about this industry and be like the go-to source. Like I want to be like the Vogue for fashion tech. And so I created Substack. I don't consider myself like a writer, but I was like, I'm going to challenge myself to do this long form content. And so I started that back in July in 2024. And for some reason, it was growing at an insane pace. And I was like so excited that I was like, let's capitalize on this. Let's build something more. So then December, January rolled around. I was like, let's build this into a platform. No, actually, it was February when I was at Edge. People are like, so what's next for all things fashion tech? I'm like, I don't know. And I was like, I want to be the Vogue of fashion tech. And they're like, that's so cool. And I'm like, yeah, just made that up right on the spot. But yes, let's do that. So then I was like, okay, media publication, let's build this into a platform. I'm a designer. I know how to build some stuff. I know how to build some websites. Let's do this. So built the platform, kind of decided to make it like 50% fashion magazine and 50% educational tool for the fashion tech industry. And that eventually will lead to a physical publication. But Substack was started less than a year ago, so that's crazy.
10,000 subscribers later.
The Instagram was only started like 6 months ago, which I think is the craziest part.
Yeah.
People are like jumping on it. Yeah. How'd you get into fashion?
Kate,
Sorry. Took over the conversation.
No, I mean, it's interesting to hear everyone's journey. I think for me, I started my career at Anheuser-Busch and spent 8 years in the beer industry on the marketing side, doing Super Bowl campaigns and NFL campaigns and working on Bud Light and Michelob Ultra, and really just like getting my hands into brand marketing. And so I'm a marketer by trade. Like I want to tell stories. I want to understand why people do what they do. I think ultimately when COVID hit, I decided to go to business school, and leaving Anheuser-Busch, I was like, okay, there were so many parts about this world of marketing that I love, but in this next journey, I want to be promoting a product that I feel like is solving a really important problem, and that isn't necessarily about getting more people to buy more things, but is providing utility and helping people live better. And so what that was, I actually had no idea going into business school. I was just like, I've been heads down and grinding for 8 years in the beer industry. I've learned so much. I've loved the people I worked with, but like, I got to pick my head up at some point and put it on a swivel and figure out what else is out there. And so went to business school thinking, I like the field. I want to find a problem that I care to solve. And then I met my co-founder who had just had the idea for Beni, and she was building a team to kind of take it into an incubator program that Kellogg had. And I was like, okay, I joined the team. And as we got into it, I was like, this is such a simple idea. The tech is obviously super complicated to bring to life, but the simplicity of the idea of like, we can't wait for people to learn how to thrift. We need to bring the world of resale to them while they're shopping just felt so compelling. And I think I dove in and kind of have never looked back. I was like, this is just this is an important problem to solve. I feel like we are at this cultural tipping point where this conversation is bubbling up and is super relevant. And I feel like all of the advancements in tech finally give us an opportunity to actually use technology to solve this problem in a way that we couldn't have done even a few years ago. And so I feel like I kind of stumbled into it a little bit, but I think what has made me so passionate about it and what's allowed me to devote the last 4 years of my life to like the hustle of starting a company and dealing with all the, stress that comes from that is that I really am the target consumer. It's like, I think I don't necessarily consider myself like a fashionista. I don't like know all the coolest brands. Like I listen to Mary talk sometimes and I'm like, oh my God, she's so much cooler than I am. I've got to like level up my game, But I want to show up confidently in the world. We've all had that feeling of like when you put on a great outfit that you just like you're kind of feeling yourself and you show up better and you stand a little taller and you're more confident and you raise your hand in the meeting and we all want that feeling. And I think as someone who isn't necessarily like deeply ingrained in the industry or didn't feel cool enough to like go to the thrift store and find like that amazing piece the way some of my friends can. It's like I want this industry of fashion and this industry of thrifting and vintage and consignment to feel accessible to people because I want to access it. And I kind of felt like I was on the outside. And so I think that's what's made me fall in love. Like I feel like through this, I've discovered new brands. I like actually can find cool pieces and I can start to figure out what is my style and can I shop more intentionally. And those conversations are way more fun to get into at a party than like, okay, so what's going on in the beer world? Like, for me at least.
I also think it's just like relevant things that people are facing. These are problems where beer is like, it's fun, let's drink it. But you're solving an actual problem that people feel pain points of right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing I loved about the world of beer is that it is, at the core, it is like about how people connect, right? Like I was working on Bud Light and it is about like, okay, this is bringing people together. It is like made for social occasions when you're gathering with friends and where you kind of let your guard down and where some of your best memories are made. Like there was a very human and emotional thing to tap into as you talked about like what is the product actually delivering. I think that fashion is like that times 10 because fashion and your style and what you wear, like it is the first signal you send to everyone that sees you, and it's so deeply connected to your self-expression, to your vibe, to your energy. Like fashion just is how you show up in the world, and whether you consider yourself like actively participating in the industry or whether you're like, oh, I'm not a shopper. It's like, well, everyone gets dressed every day. So whether you're consciously thinking about it or not, like you are participating in this industry. And I just think there's just like such a human element, so many stories to tell. So yeah, I kind of stumbled into it. This is the short, succinct answer to your question is like, I stumbled into it, but now I'm obsessed and I'm like, there's just so many places to go. I like wouldn't want to be working in any other space.
I think it's important to note too that like you guys didn't start out in fashion tech. It wasn't your major in college. It wasn't your first internship. And I think so many people are so eager, which is amazing, but also like have patience with yourself. Like it might, explore. Yeah. It might not be the first job you get. It might not be the second. Like make it a passion, and like that is so okay. You guys all have like lore too, which I think is funny. Like you were a gymnast. You also sold beer, like obsessed. I was so like, yeah, I was like, I worked on a farm, like, like you don't have to be all into one thing immediately at 18 years old. Like it's so okay to be figuring it out, and like it takes time to find like your passion and like your role where you can really thrive and like learn. So I think that's great examples because you guys are like thriving right now and killing it and really shaping the future of this industry, but you didn't start out there at 18 years old, you know, like you didn't wake up a fashion tech star.
I do get a lot of DMs from 18-year-olds, from freshmen in college, from sophomores in college that are like, I'm so deeply passionate about this space. How do I break in? I'm like, go you, because I had no idea what I was doing, let alone what I wanted for my future when I was 18 years old. So I love the fact that people do have this deep passion for this space and they want to get into it. And that's, if you do get into it early, that's so exciting because you're going to make it so much further, like earlier than some others. But like, regardless of if you get into the industry late or not, you're going to thrive in this industry. There's space for us all, and it's such an exciting place to be.
So Beni is going through something fun right now, having a little facelift. Why did this kind of start? You know, I feel like it's not something you've really seen on social media yet. Opened up Instagram and saw the like shopping is broken on Beni, the manifesto on Substack. Love the drama there. Everyone close your eyes when you read it. You should add in like a voice memo.
While you read it. Yeah. Good luck. Yeah.
Where did this kind of need come from? When did you kind of decide that you're pivoting and the core of Beni is still there, but kind of how you're showing up maybe has changed? What happened here?
Yeah, I mean, we have been building for the last 4 years, so we've learned a ton. And in the last year, we've really accelerated the pace at which we're building and just trying to get as much feedback as possible. And it's awesome to have so many people who are using the product and loving it because we've been able to take a lot of that feedback and just make some very like standard upgrades across the board. So what you'll see in the new product is increased search functionality. So now you can search with image in the app. So you can be walking down the street and see someone wearing a cool jacket and be like, I have to have that, and find it and then figure out, Beni will tell you where you can find that secondhand. You can search by brand now. So if you have brands, you can search the brand directly, follow the brand, see what was just listed from them across the world of resale. So you can use it as like a thrift department store kind of. And then we really worked hard. You know, people shop in a lot of different places. So sometimes you're on your computer, sometimes you're on your phone, sometimes you want a big screen and you want to like really explore and go down rabbit holes, and sometimes you just want to find the thing. And so we have the browser extension on your computer that tags along while you shop that now has been simplified quite a bit to be when you're shopping, the core functionality is still there that you can compare secondhand deals to the things you're looking at new just to make sure before you purchase you're getting the best deal. But you can also quick save things down. I think one of the biggest things that we learned is that you're not always in buy mode, which is a great thing. Sometimes you're like, I just want to save this for later. I just want to get inspired, keep track of this in one place. And so we've made it really simple to kind of quick save things as you're shopping using the desktop browser extension. And then ultimately, you can also do that in the app. So what's very cool, you can image search in the app now. You can explore in the app. You can also, if you're shopping anywhere online, you don't even have to have the mobile extension installed because we know that that's kind of it's like a tricky, it's a cumbersome setup process. So instead, you can just, on any browser, hit share as if you're texting it to a friend, but text it into the Beni app and we'll store that information. You can save it into a collection. And again, when you're ready to buy, go back to that inspiration and find the best deal secondhand. I think both the app and the extension now are built into feed into a website platform. So I think one of the things we're excited about is that I feel like the traditional landing page is kind of an archaic experience where we all go to one thing and our experience is the same. And as we look to the future, there's so much conversation around personalization, customization, and what we really are striving for with this new platform is to build a space where you can customize and build your dream shop. So you can follow brands, you can follow collections. As you shop, we will kind of understand who you are and what you want. And so your interface will look really different to mine, will look different to Mary's, because we're all different. We have different style, but we want to be kind of that sidekick that helps you stay organized, that helps you find the things that you want, and that ultimately becomes an experience akin to walking into a thrift store where everything's in your size, curated to your style, organized by your needs, and where you have a shop assistant who gets to know you and can say, hey, do you have anything coming up? You know, like, let me pull some of those so when you come back next time, I'll have new stuff for you to look at. And so I think that future is not far away, and this is kind of the first step towards that. So that's kind of product updates, and I'm excited for people to play around with it. I think there's tons of things already that we're like, ooh, we got to update that, or we want to build here. So the feedback will be really helpful. No, I think the other thing that I have just spent a lot of time thinking about, and that's still like the jury is out, this will have to evolve over time. But when we started, it was really with this idea of how do we make secondhand as easy as buying new. And we all know, like, when I think about who our competition is, it really is like TikTok shop, Amazon fashion, like the fact that shoppers are getting really used to being able to just like see it, want it, buy it, have it 24 hours later. And so when we started, I was really focused on that. Like, how do we make secondhand compete with that experience that is so fast and so convenient, so easy and so addicting? And I think that's still a worthy goal, right? Like, if we can bring people who aren't shopping secondhand right now into that world because we've made the experience better, that's a huge win. And over time, we'll curb demand for production of new things, because now everything that a brand has ever produced, they're competing with when they go to sell the new thing, if the experience is similar. But I think as we've gotten more into it, you know, we're a VC-backed company, and so there's a lot of pressure, as there should be, to like figure out the business model that makes sense, that's scalable, and that allows you to grow revenue and to sustain yourself as a business. And what that quickly leads to is what I like to call like the affiliate death spiral, or like this trap where we are made to think that the only way to grow or to have a sustainable, strong business where you're making substantial revenue is to sell more stuff. I just don't. I think if you go down that path and if you fall into that trap, it leads you to do things like send out push notifications being like, new drops for spring, these are the must-haves, you know? And it's not starting with someone's intent. It's instead putting things in front of them that they weren't even thinking that they needed, rather than trying to support them in their discovery of something that they actually do need. It also leads you to prioritize things that aren't based on who's paying you the most, rather than what is actually best for the shopper. And so I think where we're headed is trying to kind of challenge the system and say, what would it look like if we really stayed true to like the shopper being the person that we're serving? And instead of judging success by the amount of consumption, we judge it by like the satisfaction of your closet, the satisfaction of your purchase. And how do you start to rethink business models where you can provide value and utility around helping you make more informed decisions, helping you save money, but also helping you realize what's in your closet, or style what's in your closet, or get rid of your clothes in a way that allows you to make money back. I think this is the first step towards a platform where you can provide services, and it's not all about consumption. It's actually about like, how do we help you figure out what's worth it and then get the most worth out of the things that you purchase and own. So that'll be a journey, and it will be a fun one to go down. I don't have all the answers, but I think we're just really intentional about like, we don't want to fall into the trap and just have secondhand be another category of clothes, but that we continue to consume in the same way. I think this next chapter for Beni is saying resale is an amazing tool to help us shift our mindset to the idea that clothes are assets that have value, and we should be making smart decisions when we decide what to invest our time, money, energy in. And when we stop wasting our time, money, energy, we end up with more style, more time for everything else.
And I think you should be so proud of the fact that you could like look at your whole business and be like, wait, okay, even the thing that's apparently going to make us money, make our investors happy, it's just not core to our mission for who we're trying to serve, and to like take a step back, because business is so fast moving. Like, I just think it is so commendable. And like you guys started 4 years ago, so you're still like relatively new in the landscape of business. And so to be able to like pause and be like, we're not moving the direction anymore we thought we would, I think it's just really something to be proud of as like a CEO and founder.
I mean, I think generally, like, the goal is still to be a really profitable, like, amazing business. Like, we're going to need to go raise more money. We need to show that this is a viable business model. I just actually think that resale is this unlock that allows us to question the status quo. And until Beni and until the technology that we have to kind of make sense of these 300 million listings that are all one of one, that are super messy and like hard to kind of understand, it would be hard to do this. But I think what allows resale to be this unlock is that instead of having to be driven by trends because you just made a collection and you need to move that inventory as fast as possible, which is what brands have to do, resale is like, we have the last 50 years of style to get in front of you. And so I don't need to push a specific thing on you. Like, let's go to the 300 million pieces of inventory and let's find the thing that's right for you. And when you realize how much inventory is out there, all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, those are great deals. Like, I don't need to offer discounts because resale is like built-in discounts of 50, 60, 70%. And I think we're just like uniquely positioned to be the ones that challenge how we've done things. And so my mission is like, I want to figure out a new way because what we're doing right now just isn't working. And I think as you have ChatGPT come out with shopping features and perplexity shopping, it's like people are just like, a lot of the decision making is going to just be done in those systems. But what that takes away when you think about that in the context of shopping is the storytelling, is the like messaging around craftsmanship, is a brand's ability to say like, here's why this matters. And instead you just see all the little thumbnails and you're like, which one's the cheapest? And it's all about price. And it's like, oh, but we're like missing the point, And so I want to build a platform where like that storytelling around quality and craftsmanship and whatever can do that. And resale is the unlock because it's the thing that allows you to say, hey, this is tried and tested over time. It's lasted. It was made to last. And that's why vintage is so cool. It's like, oh, it's still relevant, 20 years later. So I'll stop rambling now.
Yes. Mary, you are so involved in your database has like over 500 fashion tech companies. What drew you to Beni and building this vision?
Well, like I said in the beginning, I feel like I knew Beni from its infancy. I learned of Beni back in like 2021, 2022. And it was through a mutual friend that was like, hey, I know you're kind of like in like the fashion tech space. You should check out this company. And so I've been a Beni user since then, and I've always valued the mission. I've always been a huge, huge resale gal. Like, everything I'm wearing is secondhand. And it just didn't feel like a leap. When I met Kate last year, I just feel like we connected on that level of like, we want to do something that really provides a lot of value, and resale does feel like it is the unlock. We can get everyone on board that resale is like truly the future. And so I was kind of like on this mission of my own of like, what is next for me? I'm doing all things fashion tech, and last year I was doing my own design agency where I was working with like really, really early stage fashion tech companies, and I loved everything I was doing, but I wanted to be back in the startup world full time. And so I feel like it was like the perfect timing that everything just came together because I was looking for something new, and Kate was like, hey, I kind of think everything that you're doing is perfect for what we're needing here at Beni. And I was like, okay, tell me more. And
no, I'm sorry. Mary posted a LinkedIn being like, I'm ready to like find a startup that I can like go full time at. I don't want to like be split, like context switching so much. And it was so serendipitous. And I literally was like, I'm going to create a position because I need her to have, and I literally wrote a job description that I was like, this is going to resonate perfectly with Mary. I don't know if I've even told you this, but I was like, okay, she's like looking for a role like product design, creative direction. I was like, we're looking for a product designer, creative director, and like wrote the role because we're a team of 6, like we're a super small team. And so you got to just find the people that you're like, I want you in my corner. You're speaking the same language and you have the skill set that we need. And when you have that, it's like, it's magic. So I was like, Mary, and it was a hard sell. She was a hard sell. She was like, I don't know, like it's a lot to, whatever. And I was like, put the hard sell on it. But yeah.
well, you won me over. We're here. No, I actually think I did notice that. I was like, I'm a product designer, but I'm also like dabbling in the creative direction industry, and this is both. I'm like, wow, this is spot on. But then when I was out here for Edge, Kate and I grabbed some coffee, and she shared the future of Beni, like the new product. And obviously they were working in the dark for so long because this new product I feel like is such like a revamp, and like it's so exciting to use. And so I got like a very early glimpse of it, like early stage wireframes and just like functionality. But I was really, really inspired, and I was like, okay, they're not only tackling resale, but they're tackling just the way that we consume, the way we perceive fashion, the way that we like go about getting dressed in the morning every single day. And I was really, really inspired. I think that was like the number one thing that I took away from that conversation is like, Beni's doing it all. Like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And I could see what they were building for like the next 3 months. I could see what they're building for the next year, but I could also see like what Beni could evolve into for the next 10, 20 years. Like Beni's on this crazy trajectory that I'm like, okay, this is something that I really want to be a part of. I also felt like with my skill set, I could make a really cool impact. I think Beni has amazing functionality, and they've had crazy functionality and crazy tech for the last 4 years. But I also feel like I wanted more people to know about Beni. I wanted people to be like, wow, that just looks cool, and then they dive into it and like, this is cool. And so I wanted to see if there was some way that I could also help bring that coolness factor or just like that level of awareness to Beni. And so it felt like the perfect fit because I was like, I really empathize with this community. I am also the user of Beni. When we talk about like who is our target market, everything we're saying, I was like, dang, that's me. Like, of course, this would be amazing for me to also help that because I'm building it for myself as well. And so, yeah, it just felt like this perfect storm of like, it's building something that I really resonate with, but I also feel as though I can add a lot of value. And I also feel like this will be amazing for my own career. So everything pointed to yes. And it was a hard sell, I do have to say. But I'm so, so incredibly thankful that I'm here with the Beni team because I kid you not, I started working with Beni in March. It's been 2 months, but every single day I become more infatuated with the product, infatuated with the team, with the mission. And we've been here in New York for the last week, and I kid you not, the last like 3 days, I'm like, I love this team. Like, this is my whole world. Like, I don't see myself leaving. Like, I'm just
Good,
like.
you're not allowed.
Yeah. I'm like excited. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be a part of this. And I am like loyal to a fault. Like when I find something that I'm like, that's my go-to, like that's where my loyalties lie, I stick to it. And I just feel like, I'm just like, I've been a loyal Beni user again from the get-go, but like now I'm just like, yes, this is everything that I want.
That is so funny to hear, like, the back end of what happened.
I didn't hear her story before.
No, I'm obsessed with that. I also think it's such a testament to, like, just put yourself out there, talk about what you're passionate about, and, like, opportunities will literally find you.
Yeah.
Like, you literally wrote a job application for her.
Literally. And I was like, okay, I feel like I have a good network, so if I put something on LinkedIn, maybe I'll get a few hits. I was like, maybe I can find a job just from, like, putting something out there. That LinkedIn post, there was a lot of founders in my DMs, so you broke through the noise.
No, I do think I'm a huge believer in manifesting, and I think you have to put things out. You have to say, like, this is what I want. Like, I go to acupuncture once a week, and I don't know. I'm not the, I don't know if it's like, if it works or not, but I like it because it gives me, I kind of use it as like my manifesting time. And my co-founder, Celine, who, shout out her, she's like the most badass female CTO, which is so rare, and who like really has built all of the infrastructure that powers Beni. But I'll call her and I'm like, oh, off to my manifesting session. And, they like, put the needles in and whatever. And then you just lay there for like 45 minutes. And It used to be that my mind would wander, and now I'm like, okay, I'm going to use this time to just envision, like, where am I standing 5 years from now? Like, what does our team look like? Like, we're in a beautiful office space, and like, shout out Scott from Fit Bar Studios let us use this beautiful space for our offsite. And I literally have a board over there that's like, it could be cool. And I wrote like, if we someday could ever have an office like this, that would be plus plus. So my next manifesting session, I'll think about that. But yeah, I think when you put things out, it's amazing what will come back. You have to envision it. You have to believe that that is what's coming, and the universe will surprise you in the best of ways.
It was fun to hear yesterday when we were talking your like visions for the future of Beni and like future offsites or projects. And I was like, I want to come.
Careful what you wish for. I'm working on a job description for you, Victoria. No, I want to ask you though, like we were lucky enough to kind of build out this creator program and get connected with you, and you participated. Like what makes you excited about Beni, and what's been your experience as a creator kind of talking about the product?
Yeah, it's been really fun to do content creating with Beni. And if you've seen me posting about bridal stuff, I am not engaged.
I'm inspired by your bridal stuff.
So good to know. But it's just like something, I kind of was making videos like that already, and it was taking me longer, I guess, because I would be like, oh, this is a secondhand find that I have. Like, I want to share it with people and like that kind of content. And then Beni is just like an easier, more efficient platform to do that. And so it kind of just came so naturally to me. And I don't know why, but like, I'm so comfortable like talking in front of a camera. Like, I know you are too. Like, it's like a weird skill.
You guys are so
In my own room with no audience.
No, literally. I'm like, hey guys. And just like getting to know the team more. I love the startup energy too, and like hanging out here yesterday, I literally was like, okay, wait, like I'll stay and hang out and see my friends. Just seeing what you guys are building. I've known about Beni for a long time as well. I remember hearing you speak at the Sustainable Fashion Forum in Austin in 2023, maybe 2024, and be like, oh my God, like she's so cool. And like you really do have the like inspiring leader persona that like locks in a talent like Mary.
We were just talking, Victoria and I, when we were grabbing some stuff for user testing yesterday, that like you bring the energy. And I was telling Victoria, I was like, I've been working at Beni for 2 months, and Kate brings the energy every single day. Every single meeting we jump on, I'm like, okay, Kate's here, let's go. Let's get the day going.
That was just like 4 cups of coffee, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I look for in a product, and I feel like we've talked about this too, is like, is this making my life easier and better and solving a need? Not like, oh, it'd be nice to have that sometimes, but like, is this something I think about daily that's like an obstacle in me engaging in a certain behavior? And that for me a lot was shopping secondhand, and it is just harder. And like, especially if you have that intentionality already and all these obstacles are kind of like stopping you from doing that better thing, it's like, okay, like I'm gonna give up and go to Zara, I guess. And so like I just see so clearly the vision you're looking for and building, because it's something that I would love to see in the world as well. And you guys are doing it and you're killing it. And I'm so excited for everyone to see like Beni 2.0, I guess. I don't know if you're calling it that. And a feature that you told me about that I keep being like, oh my God, that's so cool, is that you can save something that hasn't yet been listed secondhand, and then you'll get notified if it's come up secondhand. I think that is huge, and I just love the vision of the world that you're hoping to create, and it's something that I want to be a part of in a certain way, and that ended up being the creator program.
Well, you guys are very kind for the words. I will say that one of the reasons I decided to move to New York is that there's such a vibrant community of people here, and I think startups are hard. Like, there's a lot of days where it's a grind, and it might seem glamorous from the outside, but it's like a lot of it is just you got to show up every day, and the consistency of just like each day we're gonna like make a little bit of progress is what ultimately builds a great business. But you need to fill your cup, and you need to find the energy. And you sending out something yesterday and having like 40 girls show up here to do user feedback, and then to watch people use the product and to hear the anecdotes. A lot of really good feedback, but a lot of awesome anecdotes of just like, whoa, this is cool. And like, you're so in the weeds that when you see other people experience it for the first time, like that just fills your cup so much and allows you to, in the hard days, be like, okay, no, stick to your guns. This is what we're doing, which is really fun and just like makes it all worth it.
I also think you've been in the weeds building this Beni 2.0 for however long, and I feel like yesterday was a really good like way to like step back and be like, these people haven't even seen. They're still using the legacy product, that old product. They haven't even seen this newness, and it's like we've been having our eyes on this newness for so long that we're like used to it by now. But when we see that like new users are getting in, they're like, whoa, this is cool. Oh, I can save that quickly. Oh, now I have like full collections and I can like curate my own style right in this platform. I feel like that's the fun part, is like, oh, I almost forgot that we were building this product and it's so cool. Let me just like appreciate this for a second.
I think the other thing, I laugh at like Beni 2.0 or like, what do we call this? Because I feel like we're on Beni like 47.0. Like part of, I think sometimes we get in your head, like my background, right, was like I'm launching Super Bowl campaigns. Like we are like dropping this media blitz like in every major city, and it's like it has to be so perfect because like when it goes, there's, you know, tens of millions of dollars behind it. And that's kind of like how I started thinking about things. And then we had a fun moment with our team yesterday where it was like, we got all this feedback. We were like, oh, I want to make all these updates. And it's like, no, we have a version that's like ready to go out. There will always be 30 things that we want to update. Like that's the fun of it. But just keep pushing things out. And kind of the more you hold back and like hype up what it's going to be, I think the more stressful it gets to actually launch versus, I think for us, you know, some people can play these like gimmicky games, but I think some people can like, you know, when you don't have a media budget and you're trying to do everything super scrappy, you kind of use any tool that you can to like build hype or intrigue or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like the name of the game really is just get it out there, because the faster you get it out there, the more feedback you get and the faster you can move to fix it. And so at 11:30 last night, we like popped some champagne here and we were like, just launch it, which is really fun. And there's already 1,000 things we want to update, but like we'll do that and we'll launch again next week. And so, yeah, I think we're excited for all of this new stuff to come out because it allows us to just open the floodgates of conversations to start again, because we have been a little bit quiet for the last couple months. But I think like you'll just continue to see update after update after update. So maybe we'll call it like Beni 107.0, you know?
Beni infinity, it just keeps going, iteration after.
And I think something so fun about yesterday was the community that showed up. I mean, especially it speaks to your platform too, but it was a lot of just similar faces also building in fashion tech, other founders. I mean, someone was like, I listened to your podcast, and I was like, oh my God.
You guys are famous.
I don't think of myself that way at all. But I think that was so cool that other people, it's just such a collaborative atmosphere and community, and they're building their own business and they still took time to come and show up and like support you. And I think that just so speaks to the community. It's so collaborative instead of competitive. So I think that was just so fun for me to see.
Yeah, we talk about this all the time. It's like being in a mindset of abundance rather than scarcity. And I think we're so often driven to try to pit people against each other or be like, there can only be one winner in this space. And I just think that's the wrong way to think about it. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but like what keeps me up at night is not other people building in fashion tech trying to solve these big problems and change the industry in a positive way. What keeps me up at night is like TikTok Shop and Shein and like people that have giant systems in place to spend so much money to get you to buy so many things that you don't need, that are poorly made with bad practices. Like the fact that that is the easiest, most convenient thing is what fires me up to keep going. And like anyone else that's trying to solve problems, I'm like, yes, like how can I support you? How can I champion you to win? And how can we collaborate? And yesterday was such a perfect example of like, there is so much collaboration and so much to learn from each other, because everyone is trying to solve like their piece of the puzzle. But ultimately, like all the pieces need to come together for the industry to really move in the direction that we want it to. So it's really exciting, all the energy that's coming to the space.
Yeah, I feel like that's like the number one reason why I continue to stay infatuated with this industry, is that it feels so collaborative. Everyone's fighting the same battle, is like combating fast fashion, overconsumption, this like capitalism, like spend mentality. And like you said, we're not fighting against each other within an industry. We're fighting against fast fashion. We're fighting against consumerism. And so it's easy to want to see other people win because they're fighting the same battle as me, you know?
I think it'd be fun to kind of talk about some other companies in this space that we're excited about. Especially yesterday, there was Sean from ThreadX, Nancy from Alternew, Manya was here, Feds of Tech. So what are some companies innovating in fashion tech that you guys are excited about?
There's so many. I love this because, yeah, there's truly so many. I'll shout out Nancy Rhodes from Alternew because she was here yesterday, and I literally texted her at 4 p.m. I was like, Nancy, are you around? Like, come over at 6. And she was like, I'll be there, which is just incredible. Alternew is really tackling this idea that, like, everyone's a different shape and size, and you need access to tailoring. We're so quick to be like, oh, this doesn't quite fit, so I'll, like, get rid of it and get another one. When oftentimes it's like, you can just repair that, or you can just hem that, or you can take it in a little bit. But the world of alterations is really hard, and it's disaggregated, and there's not a lot of trust there. And so they're working to basically build a tool that will help match you with the right tailor in your area for whatever service you need. And again, that's just like, I would use that. Like, I have so many use cases in my life where it's like, I just paid $15 for someone to, like, sew on a button. You know, like, how do I know if that's a good price? Like, what? Well, I should just know how to sew on a button. But also, like, yeah, I think it's a very real problem. And I think the post-purchase moment is one where there's a lot of room for disruption and innovation. So Alternew, check them out.
Where do I start? I feel like there's so many that I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never even heard of this company, and this concept is so cool to me. Like, when I heard of Mile, I really just, like, loved the idea of, like, an exclusive luxury shopping platform, and the way that they're working with brands is really unique because they're getting all their excess inventory, so I can buy Jack Mousse for 70% off. Like, that's so cool. And I also felt like I was in this, like, new luxury exclusive experience. Mile was a big company that I was like, that's so fun. There's literally so many. For the companies that I use myself, I think I've said this in the beginning, but I'm a huge rental girl myself. I love Buy Rotation. I love Bento, which is a new subscription rental model. Vivrel is, like, one of my new rental favorites, just renting luxury handbags. I think Doji is doing something really, really, really cool in the virtual try-on space. I think people have been trying to tackle that little industry for so long, but they've kind of done it in a unique way, and I feel like they've just set themselves apart. So that's a company to really keep your eye on. There's literally so many.
We'll have to, in the show notes, be like,
Let me
here's
put
a
it
link to
all.
all things fashion tech. Yeah.
I feel like I haven't gone on a lot of podcasts, but every podcast I go on, I always mention Style Arcade because I think they're doing really something unique with inventory, like, management, and just, like, using AI to help traditional fashion look at what they should be buying, helping their buyers make better decisions. So I think that's something, like, pre-purchase that's really, really cool. And there's so much going on post-purchase, like Beni, of course.
Yeah.
I always say when I get asked this is, like, Pickle and Future Reference, I feel like are my top two I always mention. But I also want to talk about, like, biomaterials and biotech. I think that is a really cool space. They've been doing R&D for, like, 10 plus years. And I kind of feel like we're about to, like, really see it. Like, they've done small collabs here and there. Modern Synthesis was on the podcast, Jen. But I think, like, MycoWorks, natural fiber welding, like, all of those. And just the fact that someone can make seaweed into, like, leather for a car seat. I'm like, are you a magician? Like, how is that happening? And that was really big in London. They have, where I studied, they have a whole program focused on future materials, which I think is really interesting. So if you're kind of, like, on the science side, go check that out. I think there's so much happening in Europe too. And I'm just, like, so excited about everything happening. Obviously, beyond the Beni launch announcement, are there any other things that you are excited about? Any recent wins, announcements you want to share?
Oh, there's
So many ways.
There's so many things. I'm really excited to just get loud again. Like, we're a small company. I think a huge win was bringing Mary onto the team. And as the brand rolls out, like, you will just see how much she has leveled up the product experience. I think we talk a lot about like, okay, we've had the utility, but now we need to add the delight. Or like we have the toast, but we need the butter. Like who wants to eat toast without any butter? And now we have the experience that is great, but in a package that is addicting and that like makes you want to use it and that is just like sleek and nice. So that was a huge win and I think has really leveled us up. We also just brought on an engineer, Joe Danino, who has been incredible and has really taken over ownership of the app and really leveled up the image search capabilities and just the app interface in general. So I think adding 2 new team members has been huge for us. Like we're a team of 6, so it's always like small and scrappy, but 2 new hires, I'm not going to do the math right now because I'll embarrass myself, but like, increases our bandwidth by, some amount that is big. And yeah, so I'm just excited to get loud. I think we have a really clear point of view and a story to tell, and we got to get scrappy. So yeah, excited to just give people the assets to be able to share, and hopefully we can kind of rally our community to help us spread the word.
A recent win of mine is, launching All Things Fashion Tech, the online magazine platform. Launched that in April and then had a soft launch party in Seattle to kind of like celebrate all the work that went into it. But I'm really excited for the future. I'm excited for the future of All Things Fashion Tech. I'm excited for the future of Beni. I think I'm like a big picture person and I like to think really large. And when I started 2025, I was like, I didn't think twice that All Things Fashion Tech was going to be a magazine. Like, it didn't even cross my brain. And then all of a sudden, now it is one. And so I'm really excited for future wins of, like, having new fashion tech companies on the cover of All Things Fashion Tech. We're changing out the cover every quarter and hopefully doing some cover launch parties or just some cover parties. So hopefully coming back out to New York sometime in October.
Mark your calendar.
So lots coming for All Things Fashion Tech, but what's coming for Fashion and Founders?
Let me think. I think a recent win is kind of similar to you. Like, I feel like my goal for the year was like, oh my God, it'd be amazing if by the end of the year I had like 10,000 followers on the Instagram. And then that happened in like April. And I was like, oh my God. So I'm like, okay, I have to think like bigger now, right? I would love to do like community in-person events, like a live podcast where other people can get involved and like ask you questions and like network and just keep bringing more people in, I think. I was talking about this with someone yesterday and she was like, do you find that fashion tech's like inclusive or exclusive? And I was like, oh my God, so inclusive. Like, I get that other industries are kind of like exclusive and like it's really hard to break in, as a lot of people keep saying, but I would love to do like events. I think Edge was so fun to do like a pop-up podcast studio. So I'd love to be back for like this fashion week in September and kind of do something. But yeah, if you want to host me at your space, love to do that. Thank you, Fipar.
Just like podcasts do live tours, I think you need to bring Fashion Founders live tour. Just go to all like the major cities that have like a ton of like fashion tech founders. Bring it to London, bring it to Paris, bring it to India, bring it to Australia. I see that for you.
Dream big.
Okay, 2026 is your tour year.
Any last piece of advice for people who want to get involved maybe with Beni, fashion tech, or just are kind of figuring out their careers and their next steps?
I think, so my family motto from my dad is find a way to say yes. And it really stems from this idea that like so often our first response is no. It's like, I don't have time, I don't have money, I don't have whatever. And sometimes no is the right answer, and certainly no is a fine answer for people to give. But I think the best opportunities I have found are when you're like, you know what? Someone invited me to this thing and I don't know what it's going to be and I don't quite know what's going to come, but like, yes, I'll go, I'll show up. And I think showing up and just putting yourself in the moment is the hardest part of it. And you will be so shocked by what comes when you just show up. I'm a huge believer in luck through motion. It's like when you're feeling stuck or you're not quite sure, it's like just get out and about, just have the conversation, just ask for the coffee chat, like just keep moving. And as you're moving, like that orbit becomes really powerful and you just never know what the universe is going to throw at you. And so many of the coolest things that have happened for Beni have been like, oh, I showed up at this random happy hour, but actually I met this person who then was connected to this person, and now we have a partnership. And like all of those things are really hard to plan out. But if you just keep moving and you just keep showing up, amazing things will happen.
Luck through motion is so cool. I love that. That's like my new motto. But I think it's so true. I always tell people, like, go, just do it. Like the Nike phrase, just do it. Just do it. Stop holding yourself back. Stop overthinking. If you want to pursue something, put yourself out there. Go to that event. Put something out on LinkedIn. Write a Substack. I had no idea that Substack was going to turn into this. No clue. And I just decided I want an outlet, and so I'm going to write something about it. Yeah, I think my biggest word of advice is something that I take true to my core is I never like overthink it. And maybe I should think a little bit more now that I think about it.
It's good.
But I never, ever overthink it. I always am just like, that feels right, so I'm going to do it. So I like put myself out there. I get a lot of questions on a daily basis of like, I have X background, how do I get into fashion tech? Or like, if I want to get into fashion tech, like what are the first few steps to take to get in? And I just say, go, do it. Whatever feels right. If that means reaching out to someone, reach out to someone. If that means sending a cold email, send a cold email. If that means starting your own thing, go for it, do it. I had so many random like little projects or redesigns that I wasn't getting the opportunities in fashion tech that I wanted. And so I redesigned the Poshmark. Like no one told me to do that, but I was like, if someone sees that I'm taking action and I'm doing something about it, regardless of if it's big, it's like a full company, or it's just something that I can like add to the bottom of my resume, that's potential, that's moving in the right direction. I also think a lot of fashion tech startups, or just a lot of startups in general, are looking for self-starters, people that take initiative. And if you're kind of just sitting back, cold applying and not doing anything about it, that's not going to get you further. But also, if you do get that interview, potentially the person that did reach out with a follow-up email or that did put something, a small little project on their portfolio to show, will probably be looking better in their eyes.
Yeah, like being on the other side of it as the CEO of a small company, it's like my time is pulled in so many different directions, and you're trying to keep the team moving and like keep your eye on what's happening in the industry, and like it's overwhelming at times. And so in the beginning, I'd have all these people reach out, and I was like, oh, I had, people helped me so much. I want to like make myself available to have all of these coffee chats. And then it kind of got out of hand, and I was like, okay, I actually can't be doing like 4 hours of coffee chats with people every day. But what I will say to that point is like, if someone messages me and just like says, hey, I think what you're doing is cool, I'd love to pick your brain, it's like it's not specific enough. And I don't know what I'm coming into the conversation with. And so I'm not, if you're looking at 15 messages you get like that, you're like, well, that's not the call I want to take or make time in my calendar for. I've had some amazing people reach out and say, hey, I've been using your product. Here's what I think about it. I think this part, have you considered this? Like this piece I got a little bit hung up on. I think this would be more compelling. Here's ideas that I have. Or to your point, it's like, hey, I actually just took the liberty to mock this up the way I think it would be better. Those kinds of emails I will always respond to, because those are like, okay, you took time to show me that like you deeply care about what we're doing, and that when I get on this call, it's not just going to be me helping you, which I'm happy to do, and I love doing. Like I get so much energy from those conversations, but also you've made it a really easy yes to be like, okay, yeah, tell me more. And now I'm intrigued, and now maybe I'll make this conversation in an hour. Or do you want to get coffee as like a follow-up? Like the more you put into it, the more you'll get out. And I think as you're reaching out to people trying to break in, it's thinking like putting yourself in the position of who's receiving the message and what gives them an easy way to say, yes, I want to give you my time. And if you're looking for a job, it's like, yes, can you start tomorrow? Like, can you do that? You just made a job for yourself, like, yeah, if you saw an opportunity for this to be better and you can convince me of it, like if it's an easy yes, that is gold.
Oh my gosh. I love taking coffee chats, especially at the beginning. I was like, oh my God, people want my advice.
It's so fun, yeah.
And then I was like, okay, this is actually a lot of time. And then I started having some where I was like, it was just them asking me questions and me just like giving so much advice. And something I always come back to as advice is like, you have to have an ask, and you also have to have an offer. Like, what are you offering to the other person that makes it also worth their time? You're a CEO, like you're so busy. And I remember having a coffee chat, and I was like, I just kind of could tell. I was like, wait, I don't really understand why you're talking to like me specifically. I was like, did you find me through like the podcast? And they're like, what podcast? And I was like, okay, why are we talking? Like why do you even want to talk to me specifically? So like, if you're not clear on that, it's also a waste of your time, because then you're not actually going to move forward with it. Like, you really have to know what you're trying to get out of it and what you can give somebody else in return. And my piece of advice is do it scared and don't be afraid to be seen trying. And like, that doesn't mean you're succeeding or failing, but just like trying. Like, do you know how long I was posting my little videos for like 100 people or like 10 listeners? And like, I just kept doing it. And I was like, I'm enjoying it. And like, I'm doing it. And like, I would email hundreds and hundreds of people to be on the podcast. Like, you just have to try.
I love that. And I think going back to the coffee chats, because I feel like we're all like overwhelmed with them in a good way. Like, it's so good to know that like people view us as someone that they want to grab advice from. But another thing is like, find people that are in your shoes last year. Find someone that just started that entry-level job. How did they break in? Because I think they actually might be more valuable than people that founded a company. The biggest advice is like, find someone that could be your manager. Find someone that literally has your job that you want, but got hired a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I think they're going to give you a lot more value. They also have a lot more time on their hands than when you go to like an industry leader or a founder or a CTO. Like, their time is very, very valuable. And if you, again, don't come with an offer, with a compelling offer, they're probably not going to make the time. But the people that are potentially lower level in the company that also were in your shoes however many years ago, that also had to break in, they're going to have more time and they're probably going to have more valuable feedback.
Well, I think that advice is great to end on. I feel like people know where to find you guys, but let's just put it out there one more time.
Joinbeni.com, at join_Beni on all social channels. And then for me personally, find me on LinkedIn, Kate Sanner. I just got married, so I should change it to Kate Sanner Molson. But yeah, would love to connect.
All Things Fashion Tech on Instagram, allthingsfashiontech.substack.com for Substack. Allthingsfashiontech.com is the online magazine. On top of that, Mary Korlin-Downs on TikTok. I'm still talking about my life, but I'm also talking about fashion tech there. And then Mary Korlin-Downs on LinkedIn. Would love to connect.
Well, thank you guys. I'm so glad we could do this. You two are my top listened to episodes, so maybe this will break the charts. Yeah.
Two's better than one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Victoria.